Welcome back. This is now part one of my assignment. To explain it a little bit further, I have split up this part into two. So the first thing will be the first part of my educational philosophy, so what it is, and broken up into the four parts that we discussed in workshop. So I'll be teaching, learning, student relationships, and classroom atmosphere. And then just down below here, there will be a description in writing of what each one is. Sorry, I'll put my pen down. That's my teacher thing to have the pen. Will be in writing. And then down the bottom of this page will be an annotated lesson plan, which I have used the Bono's hats to go over and assess that. So without further ado, we are moving on, and I'll try not to ramble, even though I'm quite excited to come up with an educational philosophy and what that means exactly. I have my notes here and diaries and all sorts of things, so please bear with me. I hope that it's enjoyable and it's better than just reading a chunk of writing, which I'm sure whoever's marking this has already done lots of. So hopefully this is a little bit more exciting and I can exude my confidence and my enthusiasm about my educational theory. So the first part is teaching. So according to my philosophy of teaching, I want to be a leader who leads by example. I want to be the improvement that I want to see in my students, and I want to focus on the positive and not the negative. Now, as discussed in tutorial and when I wrote this out, these are quite cliche, but the thing is with it and in life and like all leaders, a leader who leads by example is someone who I've always looked up to, and that's what I want to see in the students. I want to see in the students someone who they look up to, someone who's prepared to work for them, someone who is showing the goals where I want the students to aim. And this is so important that in the classroom you exude that confidence and really be that presence that the students will aspire to be. Although this can sort of work both ways within the classroom, believing in myself that I can cater for the students and create an environment where they are comfortable to learn and explore and be who they are is something that I feel really strongly about. I know that I've taken examples from the way that I was at school, but the way and the conversations that I've had at this level, I've had great mentors. I've been really lucky to have great mentors, and they have all led by example. And that extends to me too. The teachers who I've had have been really great in creating an environment for me where I can thrive and I can learn how to be a teacher. So a leader who leads by example and creates an environment where the students can really blossom into the learner and person that they're going to be is something that I feel strongly about based on the fact that I've seen it work. I know it works. It is cliche, but hopefully I put things in place that, especially in this assignment, that will sort of set myself apart from others. Moving on to learning. The first thing I have to say about my educational philosophy for learning, and something that I've seen in inclusive learning and all sorts of other assignments and units and whatever, is that every learner is different. We know this through educational theories, pedagogical theories. We can rattle them off the top of our heads and go on and on and on and on. But for me, I've learnt it through knowing that every person is different. I'm a well-travelled human. Every country is different. Every personality is different. So students growing up now and the younger generation these days have so much more choice in their life and education than ever before. And this should really extend to the classroom. I want to create an environment in the classroom where the learner thinks and believes that I can cater for them, no matter how different, no matter how creative, no matter how anything. I can cater for you. And that's the most important thing about this part of my educational philosophy. It doesn't mean that it's going to work 100% every day. I'm never going to be able to cater for all at the same time. But I believe I can cater for everyone in my classrooms. It might be over time. It might take time to build those relationships. But I believe in the students. I believe they can create. I believe they can thrive. I really believe that the students will reflect this belief. People are just so different in so many ways that treating everyone in the classroom as the person they are will also enable them to create their own personal identity, which students are still learning to do. They haven't quite figured out who they are yet. Some people, it might take forever. Professional identities and personal identities are two different things. It's taken me a long time to figure out who I am. For allowing it in the classroom and sort of relinquishing a bit of that control will go a long way, which I will describe next. Moving on to student relationships. So just like the students' relationships with me, they are one in, all in. The relationships that students will build in my class is sort of underpinned by the belief that they can help each other. If you believe that someone can have a positive impact on you, be it your education, your life, your work, you'll automatically think positive of it. Peer-to-peer learning in life extends to the classroom more than ever before now with social media. While I was on practicum, I had a student create a Facebook page, and put in some of the resources that they'd found in my history class. And it was actually fantastic. I obviously couldn't look at it for professional purposes, but knowing that was great. And it was because I had relinquished a little bit of control within that class. And this is a really great middle ground to find, and something that I've worked on and deliberated on and put in my own notes that I need to relinquish a little bit more control. Or in this class, it was you were too controlling. So therefore, it's one of those things that needs to be worked on continuously, needs to be prepared for, because as I've said earlier, every learner is different, every group is different. But relinquishing control of the class and allowing for our students to form these relationships is something that I've worked hard on, and I think reflects my philosophy. It's also important to know that in student relationships and the friends that they have, my mentor teacher on my most current placement at parent-teacher interviews asked every single parent who they were friends with, who the kids were friends with, and who the students were friends with. And I asked them too, because they're people. And whoever they're friends with will reflect on their own personality. The next thing I'll move on to is classroom atmosphere. And the classroom atmosphere that I want to create in my classes is one that is laid with respect, which again is a lot cliche. It's cliche. But the difference that I want to make in my classrooms is that the respect extends beyond the teacher and student, especially to the support staff. I've had a person who was a support staff member, was a teacher's aide as it was then, and the students didn't respect them because the teacher didn't respect them. I want to layer my class with respect so that everyone who walks into it will think, wow, the students actually stopped and looked and thought, I respect this person. I respect everyone who comes into my classroom. And by doing this, you're not only setting the students up for later on in life, you're enabling a classroom where students can thrive on their creativity and their differences and concentrate on their differences as being a positive and not a negative. And that's such an important thing, is that the students' differences be viewed as a positive. And in a classroom atmosphere that exudes respect, and it will sort of play in with all of the other things that I've wrote here. Student relationships, learning, teaching, all of these things, if they're laid with respect, they will thrive. And it enables a classroom atmosphere that all students will feel comfortable going to. And comfortability is a place where students will learn much better than if they are under stress and having someone looking over their shoulder. The other layer of respect is that if the teacher says it's time to knuckle down, they will knuckle down if they respect you, because they will believe that you're acting in their best interest. Okay, so without rambling on, I'll move on to the strategies for assessing learning. So as we did in the younger years, and while I was on placement, as I've got notes about here, is that you can do it with year 7 and 8 and have open book CATs. And the way that you can assess is not only on the fact that they, what their marks are like and how they're progressing, even though that is of the utmost importance, but you can also assess on the basis that how are they working with each other? How are the relationships? Are they reaching their goals? And if we're putting crosses next to all those things, I need to go back over what I'm doing and then how that's helping the students. Because I believe in my educational philosophy that if I'm not putting things in place to reach my goals and leading and sort of leading by example, then the students will fall over. Is this an absolute answer? No, of course it's not. But what it will do is that it sort of acts as a ground for reflection. And if teachers aren't reflecting and getting the feedback that they need, then they're not going to improve. The other thing that my educational philosophy will I believe reflect in the way that students are different, and they're all different to each other, and as I went over before, I won't go over it again, is that you will learn the mood and the personality of the student, not only the learner. And if you get to know them and you respect them and you let their personality thrive, you will understand if they like coming to class, if their marks are reflecting it, and how their personality reflects it. Because personality is something that is involuntary. It's one of those things that it shines through when it's going positive and when it's going negative. So that's just another way that I feel that my educational philosophy sets up a mode for assessment. And that's not only academic. The ability to analyse teaching and students' learning to improve your practice. So, as I've sort of already been over, but a really great example is my mentor, who always asked me after every class that he taught, and I observed, how did he do? He wasn't acting like he was better than me. He was looking for genuine feedback and a conversation and reflection. And I'll do the same. I've set up I haven't set up, I believe in an educational philosophy that allows me to ask others and assess my own teaching and reflect on my own teaching through the feedback of others. This comes from relinquishing control, again, in the classroom with others, respecting others. Because my mentor had my respect, I had no problem telling him. If you ask the students, hey, did you like this activity? Gain some feedback, which I did. I gained feedback. Sometimes they loved it. Sometimes they hated it. Sometimes the reasons weren't valid. Sometimes they were. But that's the thing. It opens up that avenue for reflection, which is super important and something that I've learnt that is super important. Okay, so that's the end of my first part. I promise my second part won't be as long, but I will be annotating I was just checking the top, annotating a part of Bloom's taxonomy and De Bono's hats, and then it's sort of more the educational theory type. So thanks for that, and I will see you soon.